This new study finding that 8 million U.S. drivers have engaged in extreme behavior, expressing anger, aggression, and road rage at least once in the previous year. Let's talk to Veronica Sites, anger management expert. Find her at conflictresolutionspeaker.com. Veronica, great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Really one of the country's top stress management, conflict resolution experts. How did you become so? Did you grow up in a family that did a lot of fighting, or?
Oh, that I wouldn't be honest if I didn't say that I didn't have to learn how to not be dysfunctional. It's really meeting people where they are and realizing that there is a better way, and communication skills are lacking. We learn to talk, but we don't learn to communicate effectively.
When you see someone that's having a problem with their anger, what's usually the core of that problem?
The core of it is always unmet expectations in some way or another, especially in cars. We expect to get someplace safely, and yet we don't really stop to think about the other drivers are in the same mindset. And there are so many distractions behind the wheel. And, to add to the distraction, you've got a lot of people using handheld devices.
So when someone tells you, look, I lose control and I cannot control my rage, what do you do about that?
One of the things I ask them is, what is it that you actually feel besides the rage? What is it that seems uncontrollable? Because a lot of times fear is at the core of it, but it's not just, the sake of being afraid. It's fear for their life. Maybe it's, fear for the people that are in the cars with them, because if you're the protector, defender behind the wheel and suddenly everybody in the car is in danger and you feel responsible, it escalates within you.
And once that gets triggered, let's say in the car, how do you get a grip on it?
One of the number one things I tell people is you need to stop and think, what is your destination? And not just physically where are you going, but how do you want this situation to end? Do you want it to end peaceably, or do you want to allow your emotions to guide and escalate this to a point of regret and remorse and emotions making bad choices, or do you want to stop and think that still you want to arrive safely?
Now, how hard is that for someone who's rageful? How hard is that for them to pull that off?
It's very difficult for people when they're allowing emotions to be their guiding force, and behind the wheel, that's so often the case, especially when, there's a sense of urgency to get to your destination. What is difficult for people to recognize is that there is a difference between reacting and responding. If we get behind the wheel,
what is the difference?
Well, if we get behind the wheel and we know that we want to arrive safely from point A to point B, and we know that there's the possibility with all the drivers on the road that something could happen, you need to ask yourself, if something happens, what will I do? We've put some boundaries on what we're going to choose to do. Will we get afraid? Will we get angry? Can we potentially escalate? Yes, but what are you going to do with that? Are you going to regain control? Or are you going to allow the situation to become more life-threatening because of reaction?
Do you get angry yourself? Or?
Oh, yes, I do.
You sound very calm in general. What's your general demeanor? Would you say it's calm, or how do you describe it?
I'm calm under pressure. However, I have the same emotions that anybody else does. It's just learning the benefit of bringing those things under control, because I have complete control over my emotions. I can tell when they're escalating, but I've also, having been on two sides of the same emotions, I can choose to either live with regret and remorse and endanger myself and how people perceive, their safety with me, or I can bring it under control and people come to me confidently knowing that, under pressure, if we stop and we think and we plan the prepared result, then we're going to move towards that result and have better.
Do people somehow enjoy getting filled with rage, do you think?
I think some people do. I mean, some people actually get a rush out of the rage, just them feeling empowered or somehow that sense of regaining a control and navigating that rage or anger.
Yeah. Well, I should note, too, that the AAA finding was that angry drivers were men aged 19 to 39. They were the most aggressive of all the angry drivers. So is it a male problem generally? Or?
It's not a male problem alone. At that age and stage of life for men in general, you've got a lot going on, and same as women. However, that being said, a lot of it factors into intent of feeling invincible.
Yeah.
That's a stage in life where it's just like, nothing can hurt me, and perceiving.
No question. One last thing, Veronica, I have to say, from my experience, what really is shocking, how you can go from feeling totally normal to suddenly within seconds be in a completely different frame of mind. That's what my experience has been. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think everybody has a green Hulk within them. If you're triggered at just the right way at the right time, it can really elicit a lot of strong feelings. And I just encourage people to know that emotions make bad choices, and bringing things into check is going to have far better results.
Yeah, definitely. Regrets are the worst. Veronica Sites, anger management expert, find her at conflictresolutionspeaker.com on WILS. Veronica, thanks.
Thank you.